beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Everywhere you go. Take a look in the mailbox then. There'll probably be a pen. With candy canes and silver lanes that glow. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Toys in every store. But the prettiest sight to see is the holly that will be on your own front door. A pair of hop-along boots and a pistol that shoots is the wish of Bonnie and Ben. Dolls that will talk and will go for a walk is the hope of Janice and Jen. And Mom and Dad can hardly wait for school to start again. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Everywhere you go, there's a tree in the Grand Hotel. It's Top Cat.
Top Cat, the most effectual Top Cat, whose intellectual close friends get to call him TC, providing it's with dignity. Top Cat, the indisputable leader of the gang. He's the boss, he's a bit, he's a championship, he's the most tip-top Top Cat.
Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Doug, and I have another fountain pen review for you today. Today, I'm going to call this pen Top Cat. And yes, it is looking a lot like Christmas these days. Let's do the unboxing right now. Okay, here we are ready for the unboxing. There were a couple of things in my mailbox today. One was this PenBBS 323 Amber is a Cat, which I'll open in a second. And the other was this small parcel here, and I've got a guess at what that might be. I've got a few things out there. But let's open this Amber is a Cat and take a look at the pen. While we're opening it, I should tell you that I've got some pen news for you today too. I'm going to sort of insert it into this video because there are a few new things happening out of PenBBS and one new thing happening out of Moonman, just in time for the lucrative gift-giving season. Let's open this, and yes, because this is an Amber is a Cat, well, here's my cat sticker. I saw another reviewer got one of these today, and or the other day, and it's a cat with a little cat fart. And I think he translated this, and I can't remember what it says. I'll post it here, what he translated that as. But that looks like Niango farting there to me. And this is the smaller box that you get from PenBBS. When you get the top line, Amber is a Cat, you get the smaller box. There's no markings on this gray box. I've had a couple of these now. Let's open it up. Put that aside. And it says PenBBS in Chinese right there on the cover. And nothing else. It's a small tin-like pen case, which is very nice. Let's put that down and take the pen out. And we'll have our little crinkly ASMR moment as we take the pen sleeve off. Now, in my last video, I put a little bit of classical music in behind this. I'm not going to do that this time because I got a copyright strike on copying music from 150 years ago. But there you go. This is the Amber is a Cat 323 fountain pen from BBS. PenBBS. Isn't that beautiful? Let's just take a moment here to look at this. The chatoyancy in that. Oh, this is just even more incredible than I had anticipated. Okay, I have to now just sort of do a compare. I have two other Amber as a Cat pens. This is my 480, and this is the original Amber as a Cat 308. It was the first Amber I got. I don't know what they do, but this is just stunning. I can't tell you how stunning this is. Now, I've seen a lot of these videos showing this and the Galaxy acrylic, and I can tell you honestly that it does not show up on video as, I mean, it's lovely on video, but in person it is just stunning. So now I have three of these. And this, of course, the 323 shape, I now have three of the 323s. Here is my clear glass and my Black Tortoise. And although I'm still saying that my favorite fountain pen of all is my Galaxy 480, this pen, this shape of pen, is the most comfortable writing experience. The way it fits in your hand, and we'll do a good examination of this pen. I'm going to show you the parts and features. I'm going to talk about what I like, what I don't like. I'll do some size comparisons and some measurements, and then we'll do a writing sample, and after a couple of days of writing with it, I probably don't have to write with it long because I know this pen, but I will do an evaluation of this pen. But first looks first. Let's just uncap this and see how many turns it's. I've done this before, so 1, 2, 3. I think it's hard to tell because there's no clip. So find a spot. There's the chatoyant spot right there. 1 there. 1.5. That makes a difference, doesn't it? It does not post. These models do not post. So if you need to post your pens, you should avoid this. But, you know, I would suggest that everybody give this pen a try. Here is that unique Amber as a Cat nib. This one is a medium. And I'm going to swap it out for a fine. I'm going to write with it first because I would like all the nibs to match. And this is the only finish on these pens that get this special Amber as a Cat treatment. There's the 308 on the top, the 480 in the middle, and the 323 on the bottom. The top two are fine, whereas I believe this 323 is a round medium. I'm not fond of the round medium. They are lovely nibs. People do complain that the PenBBS nibs are a little dry, but if this one ends up writing dry, I'm going to show on camera how I remedy that. It's actually very simple. And I've gotten all my PenBBS pens, which I have, including the order that's still outstanding. I have 8 now. I've gotten them all writing so that they're all superb. There's that plastic PenBBS feed. It has a concave section. And the body is bulbous here and curves inward and then flares out again. So it sits in your hand just perfectly. I don't know, you know, I mean, if you've had a 323 and you don't like it, I'd like to hear from you in the comments because I'd like to know what you don't like about it because this is just sublime. So let's open it up here. It does have a silicone ring on it right there, so you can silicone grease this up and eyedropper the pen. Now I've got 2 eyedroppered Amber as a Cat right now and 2 eyedroppered 323s. So I might just leave the the converter in here and ink it up, because I just can't go through all that kind of ink, that much ink. So you can feel that that seal. Very simple. Now let's take a look. Before I do the evaluation of this pen, I'm going to, before I ink it up, I'm going to clean it out with a little bit of soapy water and rinse it, and then I will fill it. I don't know what ink yet, but I'm going to open this little package up and see what it is. It might be what I was looking for to complement this pen. Maybe not, I'm not sure. No, it's my pen clip. Okay, so I can't show my wife this video because this is a little stocking stuffer for her. What I was looking for, and probably come the next couple days or so, I purchased roll stops for both of my 323s. One is a snake with in black, and one is a snake in silver. And for what I'm going to call Top Cat here, Top Cat's getting a very special roll stop, and I'll post the image of it right here so you can see it. And I'm looking forward to putting that on the pen in the next few days. I'm hoping that it'll be here by tomorrow. Anyway, before I do all that, I have some pen news for you. First of all, there are two new PenBBS models. One is called the PenBBS 500, and it looks like a sort of an upgraded TWSBI Go. It has the spring pump kind of filler, piston filler, but they have found a way to retract the rod that pumps the piston up and down into the body of the pen. Since no one has one of these in their hands yet, we don't quite know how it's going to work. But it has been Jinhao and Bainey have been teasing us for the last week or so with this new model 500. Also, there is a new model 491, I think it might be 497, but I'll put it up here on the screen. Just indicated the other day from Jinhao, a whole new model, and it looks like it's going to be an upgraded version of the Moonman C1. I just cleaned this C1 out in anticipation of getting the new model from PenBBS. This is a fairly chunky pen, and I didn't write with it a lot, even though it writes beautifully. But the new PenBBS looks like it's going to kind of replace this pen for me. So I'm looking forward to that, and as soon as those things hit the shelves, I'm going to be ordering them immediately. Okay, I got so caught up in the new PenBBS models that I forgot about the Moonman stuff. And there's something new from Jinhao as well. So I thought I'd show you this. This is the new Moonman M8, and it comes in 3 varieties. It basically is an upgraded M6. I have an M6 wooden body pen from Moonman, and I've swapped nibs out on it a few times. And I don't quite use it a lot. Maybe it's the wooden body that I'm not appreciating so much. But this is the same pen, but with a resin or acrylic body with this gold fleck, or a colorful fleck on it, and a gold clip. Everything is the same except for the finish on the cap and body. It has the same nib and feed and section, and I actually pulled the trigger on this one. I think it looks like those Namiki, is it Pilot? But they're Japanese Namiki pens. This, of course, is just acrylic, and those are special, very, very expensive pens, but this looks just gorgeous. So I went ahead and pulled the trigger on that. Look at that. That's a number 6 Moonman nib. I have a couple of those, and I have my Bobby Bent nib number 6s that I can swap into this pen if I don't like the nib that comes with it. So I'm looking forward to that. Here's the other color it comes in. There's a couple of other colors. There's this gold fleck, which works really nicely with the gold hardware. And then there is the silver fleck, which I think would work better if the hardware were silver on it to match the silver fleck. It's quite a lovely pen. But Moonman has also come out with the T1. And the T1 is the first piston filler from Moonman. The cap kind of looks like a Kaweco Sport, doesn't it? With an acrylic body and this anodized aluminum colors. I didn't pull the trigger on one of these. I'm going to wait to find out whether that nib in there is a number 5. I expect it is, from the size of that piston and the length of the body and the size of the section. That looks like a number 5 nib. If it is, I might just pass on this, but we'll see. It comes in a number of different colors, and they'll be kind of cool if you fill them up with like colored ink. Then there's the new Jinhao Centennial. Now, I already found one of these on eBay earlier and did a review, and it said it was a Jinhao, but there were no Jinhao logos on it, and I suspect it was a Chinese knockoff of Chinese Jinhao, which does Chinese knockoffs. I found that fascinating. But this one looks like it's resin, acrylic body, and it comes in 3 colors. The classic big red, which is really orange, the white, and that cool gray. I bought the orange one, and I'm going to take a look to see whether that in any way looks like a duofold or writes with an equivalent kind of quality to my Moonman M600 and M600S. I was also expecting in my package here, and, oh, here it is. I was going to complain that I didn't get this. I made a boo-boo. There was a indication on the Etsy site that said if you buy 2, you'll get 10% off any purchase between now and Christmas. So you purchase 2 things at one time, and when you check out, you use the code. And I'll show the code here as well. And so I did that. I bought this 323, and I added a little nib charm. Here's the nib charm. It's in the color Summer, which is very pretty. But the point was, for me, that it has a PenBBS fine nib, and it has that mini Fude slightly upturned nib on it, which I just love. And I knew that this 323 Amber as a Cat had a medium, and instead of not getting it and waiting for an Amber as a Cat fine to come out, which probably wouldn't be for another year or something like that, I thought, well, I'm going to buy this, get my 10% off by buying 2. This is $5. Right, so I bought 2 items, and I'm going to get 10% off. Well, I put the code in the wrong box, and I wrote to Bainey and said, why didn't I get my 10%? She says, you make a mistake. So, yes, I made a mistake. So now I have 2 pen charms, nib charms, one in the cedar, which I love that finish, and one in the summer. I might have to get a pen in this finish. It's a good way to sample a finish. If you don't know whether you like the particular finish that you're going to order, get a nib charm, and it's $5, and you get to sample what that finish looks like before you buy the pen. Very pearlescent. That's lovely. Look at that. So it's something to think about because of all the myriad of colors that PenBBS have. And it looks like this new model, both the The 500 and the 491 are going to come in an assortment of different colors from PenBBS. So that's something to look forward to as well. So I'm going to clean this pen out. I'm going to fill it up with some ink, and I'm going to do some measurements and so forth. We'll put those up on the screen, then I'll come back with a writing sample.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
Okay, so I've cleaned out the pen with a little soap and water and rinsed it. And while I had it apart, I decided to swap out that nib. So I took my nib charm and I took out the Amber as a Cat. I think I want it to write more than I want it to look. So the medium I tried without any ink at all, just on a piece of paper, and it is a typical round medium, and it was very, very smooth, but it's just that round medium feel. And after a while, you sort of get to know what you like. And if you've been watching me for a while, you'll know I love these bent nibs from PenBBS. So this is that Mini Fude bent nib, and it was as easy as taking a little piece of rubber and unscrewing the nib section, or the nib unit, out of the section. Now I should open this up because I've got the converter attached here. There we go. So, and that just slides right out of there. So there's the section with its O-ring, and I don't need to silicone grease that because I'm just going to use the converter in it. But that nib unit comes right out, and I just swapped it back into this one, and that just screws right into your little keychain. Not that I would carry this on my keys, but it's a nice little spare. So once I've got the, there it is, once I've got the nib swapped, just go back in here, and the reason I use a little bit of rubber on this is so I can squeeze it from the sides and not from the feed. These PenBBS feeds are very fragile, and so I'm just squeezing on the shoulders and just turning just snugly, and then making sure that the nib is in the center of that feed right there. See, so it's aligned up in the center. And so it doesn't have the Amber as a Cat paws on it, but that is a standard fine from PenBBS since 2005 with the F and the filigree work, and that will be fine for me. So I'll put the converter in. Now, I've decided to put Konpeki in this because I'm going to write with this a lot. And my other two 323s, I have Daimon Bilberry in one and Asagao in the other, Urushizuku Asagao. So I want my sort of everyday favorite ink in this one. So I'm going to fill it up with some Konpeki here. And then I'm going to check to see how the nib writes. Now, generally what you do is you take the nib and you dip it in. You put the converter all the way down and you bring it up and it sucks up ink. What I like to do, because I have one of these really cool syringes that I got from Goulet Pens. This was just in some water, so I'm going to want to make sure that that's dry. So I'll suck up some ink from the bottle, and this way I don't have to dip my section in the ink. You say, well, the feed will be dry, but I have a way around that too. So I'm going to drop a little bit of ink, because it's a converter, it doesn't need a lot. And put the piston all the way down and drop that syringe all the way in and fill the converter up, not all the way to the brim. Drop the rest in the bottle. And then, with the nib facing up, I'm just going to, because I got a little bit of air there, it's not going to push ink all the way through. There we go. So, now there's ink from there to there, but there's no ink in the feed. So what I'll do is I'll turn it upside down. I don't know whether you'll be able to see this or not. See if I can get some light on this. Maybe I'll zoom in. But I'm going to turn that converter down, and ink is going to flow into that feed the more I push that piston down. I can see it now. I don't know whether you can or not. It's flowed all the way down into here. And then I'll just back it off a little bit. So I've saturated that feed. And this is kind of what happens if you get a dry start on a pen and it's a converter. You can take the body off and give it a little bit of a push to prime that feed a little bit. Then we can close it up. And then I'm going to give it a try here. So I'm going to go off camera to give it a try and check out how that nib writes. And if it's fine, then I'll do a writing sample. If it's not, I'm going to show you how I will adjust it. Okay, so I've worked with this nib a little bit. It writes right out of the box without any adjustment at all. Very, very smooth. The nib tines were completely in alignment, and I didn't have to micromesh it at all. I tried to do a little bit of micromesh on the reverse. I don't use reverse writing a lot, but that's very scratchy, so I did that just a touch. But I tried out the wetness of this pen, and it's going to be a little bit wetter now. You can see there. It's not, this is where I started, and then I did this. I took my spark plug gapping tool with a 0.004 inch or 0.102 millimeter thickness. Now, some people use a brass shim for this, and you can buy that from different pen supply companies and so forth. I'm just going to try to get the lighting correct so you can see what I'm doing here. There's that little breather hole there, and I'm going to put the edge of my shim in that hole. I'm trying to do this around the camera, and I'm pushing the nib on the paper just a little bit, not hard, just so I get some leverage on it, and it slides through the slit, and then I just guide it down to the paper. It's actually between those two tines right now. I can hold on to that and just slightly push back and forth a little bit, or you can do that a couple of times. Go into the breather hole and draw it down the length of the slit, and then give it a try. So that has increased the wetness a little bit. If I wanted a little bit wetter than that, I can try it again. It works if you put this under a loop as well. It's easier to see. Just going to wiggle it back and forth just gently and pull it out straight. You end up getting ink on your fingers, mostly because I get ink all over this thing all the time. Okay, that's really writing wet now. Yeah, that's really wet. Wow. Oh my goodness. That's almost a religious experience. Okay, I'm going to stop there. I'm not going to do any micromesh on this, but if you do, before you use micromesh, this is a 12,000 grit micromesh, and they come in these little foam pads, which I got them at, oh God, what's the name of it? Lee Valley Tools. I got a pack of 6 of them or something, very cheap. But lay down, do it with ink, and lay down a patch of ink. I'm not doing this at all. I'm just laying down some ink here to show you. I'm not really putting any pressure on it. But what I'll do is I will run some figure 8s that way, and then some up and down, side to side, diagonals, diagonals, circle, circle the other direction. Then I'll start signing my name, do a little bit of reverse, and you're going to roll the nib back and forth as you do that so that you don't get a flat spot on it. But before you do any micromesh, it's really important that you take a look through a loop or a magnifying glass at those tines. Let's see if I can get focused in on the end. Those tines on that, and I'm going to zoom in here too, on that nib are extremely well aligned. Okay, they're right on top of each other. If you had one lower than the other, then generally what I do is I will take my thumbnail and push on the low side, and move it up just a millimeter, and just hold it there. Metal tends to have a memory, and so if you don't have to over crank it, just push it into a position and hold it there for a bit, and then let it go. Take a look and see if it's lined up, and if not, you can do it some more. It's very, very important that you be gentle with this, because it's easy, as if you'd seen my previous video, I almost sprung that conical nib on that Wing Sung 601A, but I ended up getting it writing very nicely. So this is aligned perfectly, but you need to get that alignment perfect first before you give it any micromesh, because what you might be feeling in terms of scratchiness is those tines being like this, and you're getting the sharp edge of one of the tines scraping across the page. And so no matter how much you smooth that, it's not going to help. And then if you do get the tines in alignment, you're going to have a curved edge when those tines need to sit close together. So get the tines in alignment, and then any scratchiness you feel will be imperfections in the grind itself. If you look at this really carefully, that mini Fude, that's a good shot right there. You can see how it's angled almost at a 45-degree angle, and that tipping material goes up. That 45-degree angle almost sits flat on your page and gives you sort of a very small calligraphy effect. Of course, the Fude nib is that bent nib. I'll show an image of a Fude nib, a full one here, that Asian writing uses brush kind of things for calligraphy, but the Asian characters, Chinese or Japanese or whatever, they like that Fude nib because it gives you that brush stroke for all the different thicknesses and thin strokes of the Asian characters. And in its mini variety, it gives you a really sweet line. So I'm going to come back in a moment when I get a clean sheet of paper. We're going to go to the overhead camera, and I'm going to do a writing sample. Okay, so I've switched the camera around, and we're ready to do a writing sample with the PenBBS Amber is a Cat 323. PenBBS 323. Amber is a cat. This is a fine nib. It did come with a medium. I've replaced that. And the ink today, I wish I could spell this, Hiroshizuku, just the way it sounds. Konpeki. This is such a fine ink. I grow fonder and fonder of it every day. No matter what pen it's in, it gives you a different kind of look. It has wonderful shading and it has a sheen to it as well. And every time you lay down a line, it's quite lovely. So let's listen to this nib. You won't hear anything. That is just the smoothest nib. It puts out what I'd say between a fine and a medium line, which I find perfect. Medium is too fat for me and fine is too thin. So this is just hits my sweet spot. I'm not going to talk too much about how this pen feels. It feels awesome. Go and look at my other two videos. I've got one in praise of the 323, where I compare my clear 323 with my Black Tortoise. So the feel of this pen is absolutely phenomenal. But let's check the wetness on this nib. Now that I've worked on it a bit, again, it was fine right out of the box. But now I just wanted it that touch wetter. And people do complain about these PenBBS nibs coming out of the box dry. It's a fairly simple process of making them wet. So this is a wet, smooth writer. There's no line variation, but it is smooth in every single direction. Let's try some reverse writing. This isn't the best nib here for reverse writing. It does do it, but it's very fine and very light and feels still a little bit scratchy. Let's try some quick writing. It keeps up fabulous. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write with this for a while, and then I'm going to come back and do an evaluation. I've evaluated this pen before, so I don't think that my feeling about this pen is going to change, but we'll go through and do that anyway. Okay, I'm back after writing with this pen for a while. I know this pen really well because I've got two others and another one on the way, actually. So I'm ready to do an evaluation. My evaluation criteria, as always, is design and build, writing, and feel, the overall look, and the overall value. Each one of these is out of 4. 4 is perfect, 3 is above average, 2 is a pass, 1 is a fail, and 0 is a no-show, complete washout. In terms of design and build, and of course I've done this evaluation before on the Black Tortoise pen, and I knocked it for 2 things in terms of design. One was that it had no clip, and the other was that it doesn't post. I'm going to give it a pass on the clip thing because I found an elegant solution and a nice design accessorizing opportunity by putting these little snake rings. I think I paid $1 for that snake ring and this one, and I think I paid $1 for the little cat that's going to come and adorn this pen. So it's a nice accessorizing opportunity in this model. Again, I don't mind that it doesn't post, but this is a drawback for a lot of people on this model, that it does not post. So I'm still going to ding it half a point, 3.5, for not posting. In terms of writing and feel, I dinged this before because I had some hard starts and things like that on my Black Tortoise. But this nib now, I mean, right out of the box, it was really smooth, and it was not dry, but it wasn't as wet as I like it. But now it's the smoothest and wettest and nicest line of all of my PenBBS pens. And that's saying a lot because my Galaxy 480 is a gorgeous pen. So in terms of writing and feel, and of course, I've talked a lot about how this fits in your hand. It's just elegant. It's sublime. So an absolutely perfect score, writing and feel. I'm not going to talk any more about how gorgeous this is. I'm just, the acrylic on my Visconti pales in comparison, or the resin anyway, on my Visconti pales in comparison to this resin. And that pen was 10 times the price. So this, in terms of look, is an all-out 4. If I could give it more, I would. In terms of value, I'm going to ding it a point and say 3, just for this one, because this one was $31.99 US plus $6 US shipping. Now, you're paying the extra because this is that unique, rarer amber is a cat acrylic, and so the upper end, the galaxies and the ambers and things like that, the tootsies, are going to be more expensive. But you can get this pen for, in the clear and the clear colors, you can get this pen for $13.99 US plus $6 shipping. And so in terms of value, there is a better value in this model to be had if you don't want to pay the upscale charge for this resin. So that gives us 14.5 out of 16, which is a really good score for a fabulous pen. So thank you for watching all the way through this very long video. It is getting closer to Christmas, and I'm looking forward to seeing what everybody gets for Christmas. And I hope Santa puts something pen-related in your stocking. And as always, thank you
Is the holly that will be
for watching.
on your own front door.
And if you like this video, please like and subscribe. And if you want to be notified of any further videos, please hit that bell and you'll get a notification. And that's all she wrote.
Amor.